Why you changed the Boosted Boys to Boosted Boy?
You know, people have come and go. Really the only one like laser focused on like trying to push this and make it work, and some of my friends that had interest in cars like naturally grew out of it. I found myself a lot of times being the only one, you know, running the channel, and because it has the name Boys in it,
Yeah.
it makes you automatically assume like this is a group of people
Where's your other
doing
guys?
it. It's something I've wanted to try, and if I don't do it now, then I don't want to just like regret not ever trying it. I wrestled with for years.
Really?
And I didn't change the name because I knew people liked it. People really want it to go back to how it was, and I agree with them, and I don't feel any better or different about it, then yeah, I'd change it back.
Welcome back to Go Hard Podcast. I'm your host, Noel. Guys, we're back in Florida. We have a very special guest. Anything that you might have thought you can build, this guy's already done it. Anything that you thought you could build, he's probably already done it. And you've seen him on YouTube, you've seen him on Instagram. He built some crazy cars. Some cars I like personally. He had the WAGO for a while. For like the longest, right?
Yeah, the WAGO is one
Like
of the OGs.
OG, right?
Yeah, if you know about my wagon, then you've probably been watching for a while.
Like the WAGO is crazy. Haven't even seen one on the street, but when I seen it, I was like, damn, that's pretty sweet car. But let's give it up for Kyle with Boosted Boys. Boosted Boy.
What's up, guys? Oh yeah, BoostedBoiKyle now. Yeah. I just uploaded that video. People are
Going
people
crazy.
are pissed. Yeah, I've always been known as Boosted Boys
Yeah,
ever since it's been a thing.
yeah. They probably already know you, but for my channel, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, my name is Kyle. I run a YouTube channel called Boosted Boys that I recently just changed the name to BoostedBoiKyle. My Instagram tag is BoostedBoiKyle, so just felt right starting this year with the new tag BoostedBoiKyle. Moving on, I build mainly Hondas, lots of K-Series swap cars. I started with a red EK hatch. I built it up knowing nothing and just got into cars. I've always been into cars when I was younger. I used to play with lots of RC cars, and my dad was into model airplanes, so that transitioned into real cars as I got older, and I was always, you know, souping up the little RC cars, finding ways to make them go faster. So then obviously when I got my own car, I wanted to have the fastest one in my group of friends. So
Yeah.
went on the internet and found out how to soup it up, and here we are.
Yeah. And was it a nitro, the RC cars, or was it electric?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I tinkered with like the little Traxxas Nitro, like 3.3 motors. I had a T-Max and a Traxxas 4 Tech. It's like the lowered all-wheel drive car. And then I had a couple electric ones, just some like slashes and things like that. And at the time, like brushless motors they were just starting to become popular, but most RC cars that were electric were still brushed. So the big upgrade would be to make your RC car brushless. So I was
Gotcha.
just swapping those and upgrading them. But I just like to make stuff fast and just until it just breaks, honestly. Just see how far you can push stuff. Like I was frying motors and batteries and
So you pretty much, if it breaks, you're like, just put a 2S or 3S batteries on it and just go.
Pretty much.
'Cause that's what you do now, pretty much, but just Tesla battery.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I always thought too when I was messing with RC cars when I was young, like I always had this mindset of like, man, imagine, like, because the first time I put like a 3-cell on my RC car, and the thing was ridiculously fast compared to any of my gas stuff, and just like reliable. It didn't have to deal with the gas and the tuning and messing with the carburetor. And I was just like, man, imagine this RC car if you could take the motor but scale it up 5 sizes, take the battery, scale it up 5 sizes, take the chassis, scale it up, and just you could sit on it. Imagine how insane that would be, just scaled up. And I was like, when I was younger, I'm like, can't they just like make it bigger and it would be like ridiculously fast? But there was no full scale fast electric cars until like Teslas and stuff became more popular. And like nowadays, you're seeing stock Teslas going 8s in the quarter gutted, and it just the technology, I guess, has finally been able to scale up and. Yeah, electric stuff's pretty gnarly too.
I have an X-Max, so that thing moves.
Yeah, it's basically just the electric T-Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
That's 8S. That thing was a pretty penny, but that thing's not nasty. It's It's a
Can basically
1/8
do like standing backflips almost.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
yeah, it's nuts. So much torque and power behind those little motors.
Yeah. Is that what made you go Tesla swap?
Not necessarily. I had the idea to body swap the Plaid with the minivan, and I had rode my friend had a Plaid,
Yeah,
and
it's all good.
I rode in it. I rode in his Plaid, but he gave me a ride in it, and I was like, this thing's insane, because I knew they were quick, and I always heard about it, but not until I got a ride in one did I realize how like insane they are. I was like, man, I gotta like do something with this. So I got that ride, and one day I was just like coming up with ideas, and I somehow like I always thought like, man, if I could put this power plant like into a sleeper, because we had built the turbo minivan. I like sleepers.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if I could like put that power plant, like reliable, fast, 1,000 horsepower into a van, like swap the motors, swap the batteries. I wanted to find out how I could do that, but I was like, man, to actually, take all the components and do it, it'd be really complicated and hard. And then I found out that the wheelbase is almost identical, and I'm like, I could probably just cut it off, like leave it all alone, so it still works, and I could just swap it like a big RC car. My kid mindset, like an RC car, the chassis is the same thing. Yeah. The body can be whatever.
Yep,
so
true.
The Tesla, it's a skateboard on the bottom, and you just, if the wheelbase matches, you can just pop on whatever you want.
It's exactly like an RC car, because you have the 4 pins.
Yeah.
To hold the body down. Yep. Exactly the same.
It's the same. That's the same concept I had in my mind. I'm like, the Tesla should still work without, like, if you just fool whatever sensors that need to be fooled, like, they're not going to know if the doors are gone or the hood's gone. So once you get all the physical metal body out of the way, then you just replace it with the shape you want, and then there you go. So the wheelbase matched up, and I cut up a Rhodessey, and I put it onto the Plaid, and that just taught me a lot about Teslas, like, as I was working on that, doing that project, any issues that came up, or like we had some like modules that would go bad, like the air suspension stopped working, just stuff like that. So I was forced to kind of figure out how they work, and it just was really interesting, because I was building these turbo cars, building motors, and it was just kind of getting repetitive. And when I got into the Tesla stuff, it was kind of refreshing, because it was just new, and I was like, it was like fun to learn about.
What specific did you learn, like how to fix like a module on a Tesla, or like maybe the sensors that were for the doors, like you mentioned right now?
Yeah, so the thing you can do with Tesla, there's still some information that might be hard to get, because it's still relatively new, and there's not many like third-party shops that are doing it. Basically, Tesla has all the info you need, and it's some stuff you want to find out might be kind of hard, but most of it is actually available on Tesla. You can actually just go on there and go to their schematics on a certain model, and you can pull up a full wiring diagram.
Really?
And yeah, you can look into it pretty good. It's almost all digital. There's no more like Haynes manuals. There's not like you're not going to go to AutoZone and see a Haynes manual for a Model S Plaid or something, but you can go online and pull up most of what you would need. And the cars are like, they're pretty smart at telling you what's wrong with the car itself, because you just can put it in service mode, and it turns the whole screen red basically, and it gives you a list of all the alerts that might be active, and it's basically telling you, hey, there's a problem with this module, or there's a connection broken here. And the car, it's all integrated, and it's pretty smart at diagnosing.
Yeah.
It saves a lot of time, I feel like, but there's also issues that can come up that are also really hard to solve. It like the cars are so complicated that in some cases the self-diagnostic is just easy and instant, but there's like little bugs that could come up that you might just be chasing for months. It's like it could go either way sometimes with those things.
Damn.
Luckily, we haven't had too many issues, and what it comes down to, like when I had to fix the air suspension on my Model S, that's like the first like repair I had to do on my own, because at first I was trying to take it to Tesla to see if they would fix it for me, but I had already cut the body all the way off, and that's when it was the exo cage.
Oh yeah.
And they said we couldn't touch it, because of like I just hacked it up. They're like, it's not safe or whatever. They couldn't touch it. I understood. So I was kind of forced to take it back and figure it out on my own. And I knew some Tesla friends, reached out to them, and they came over. We diagnosed it, and they just said, yeah, you basically just need a air suspension module, and it was just easy as swapping it out, booting up a new software reinstall into the fresh hardware. I just bought one on eBay, a new computer. It was like $200, and everything worked again.
Do those have? I've never diagnosed a Tesla or seen the schematics, but do those have virtual breakers?
Yeah, it's all E-fuses.
Yeah.
So there's no, if like your headlight goes out, there's not like a manual fuse that you can go to the auto parts store and change. It's all E-fuses through the modules. So if something goes bad in one of those modules, most likely you just have to replace it, because there's multiple ECUs that are in control of multiple functions all over the car.
Right.
There's like a main front ECU, a main left ECU that like controls the left side of the car with the power windows on the left side. There's a main ECU on the right side that controls the right windows, stuff for the rear. So like if your side windows on the passenger side just don't work and you've tried everything, like it'd probably come down to that ECU having a fault or something in it. And if it can't be fixed, all you got to do is just replace that unit, reinstall it to the car, and then everything starts working again. As long as there's no like physical issue with the wire connection, it's really just almost, from what I've gathered, it seems like you're just chasing ECUs.
Right.
So I'm not an expert on it, but for me, just replacing ECUs has fixed all the problems I've run into so far. We have a Cybertruck over there too.
Yeah, I seen it. Like it was already getting.
Yeah, I got T-boned, and the passenger.
When was this?
Side doors got crushed in. It was the first totaled Cybertruck, I'm pretty sure, that was ever sold like privately.
Oh, you got T-boned?
No, the previous owner got T-boned, and
where'd you get it from?
It was in Kansas City, Missouri. So I drove 18 hours to go pick it up. It was a
auction?
No, it was a fan of the channel. His grandfather, I believe, had it, and he got into the accident, and then his grandfather had a new one coming, and he settled with insurance on part of it. They didn't fully cover it, so the insurance didn't take it from him, and so he sold what's left of it just privately to me.
Damn.
So we ended up with that Cybertruck, and I've been learning a little bit about those as well. And then they're like completely everything I learned about the Model S and stuff, it's all different on the Cybertruck.
Really?
They redid everything. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a whole different deal. It's like all the computers they're all in like their own computer network. Everything's connected with Ethernet cables, and it's a little different for sure.
And
I don't have too much experience with the Cybertruck, but we were able to, it was bricked basically when we got it. It wouldn't even move. And after working on it for about a month, we were able to get it fully functional again. Like right now we could hop in it and it drives fine. It just needs 2 new doors.
Yeah.
And it's good. We had to put it up on the air, put it up on the lift, and change the there's these big pyro fuses that go up in the bottom. Those, when they get into an accident, those burst for safety, so they kill all power to that main battery, so nothing can like short circuit and catch on fire or whatever. So we had to change those, and just lots of little stuff. I had to change the whole steering rack in the front because the steering, somehow the steering, when it got into the accident, it like overloaded the motor in there, so it like backfed power. Like it was forcing this rack to turn when it didn't want to. So like the guys at Tesla told me they're assuming that it backfed voltage because it was forced in the accident, and that messed up the steering rack, because those have a drive-by-wire steering rack. There's no physical column that connects. It's just a sensor.
Yeah.
So almost like planes, like fly-by-wire.
Yep.
So I believe the Cybertruck's the first to implement that into a mass-produced vehicle like that. So
that's cool.
Definitely learned a lot more than I intended to.
Right.
But it's pretty cool. It's like I said, it's just interesting. It's kind of fun.
It's pretty cool that like you see that on the cars and on these EV cars, because and even the new planes that are out right now that are coming out, like for example like the Dreamliner 787 Boeing and the Airbus 220, they're like just came out maybe 2022. The Dreamliner's been out for like I think 5 years, but those are the same thing. Those have virtual breakers, so like it'll show like circuit breaker pop on the MCDU, the screen, and then you just push it back in, and if it doesn't go back in, then you have a short or something, and then you die, and then it'll tell you, check wire EEC 1B, and then you go in the schematic, check it, and you know what I mean.
I feel like that's a somewhat similar process to the Tesla. It tells you,
Yep.
like, hey, it'll tell you this exact wire, there's an issue.
Yeah.
So you got to trace it and find the physical issue.
Yeah, and it'll say like it'll have the main. So they go by the maintenance manual. So the maintenance manual pop up on the screen, showing you the diagnostic of how to work it. It's crazy. And then now you're saying the drive-by wire. That's crazy, honestly. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think that you don't have like if something happens, like if the sensor goes bad or something. But I mean, there's multiple redundancies in it to make sure it doesn't ever fail. And if something goes wrong, it puts you in that limp mode where the truck will only go like 4 miles an hour because it detects that there's an issue with the steering. So they play it pretty safe. I haven't looked into it. I'm assuming there's been no accidents related to that yet.
Yeah.
But that's what everyone's concern is, like, oh, how am I gonna trust the truck if there's no physical steering column? It like scares some people.
Yeah.
When a lot of people might not realize that when you're flying on a commercial airliner, there's no physical connection to the control surfaces. It's all ECUs telling the plane how to move the hydraulics and stuff.
So the redundancy on that is hydraulic pressure. So like the hydraulic pressure on any aircraft, it has two systems on, let's say, the ailerons, right? And then the rudder, all of them have the redundancy system of hydraulic pressure. So that'd be the redundancy for that, you know?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Because on the aircraft, every system has to have a redundancy. That's part of like
required.
federal aviation regulations. So
yeah, FAA stuff.
Yeah, FAA shit. I seen you in a Honda aircraft.
Oh, the Honda Jet.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I seen that, I was like, damn, that's badass.
That was cool. Yeah, that was.
Did it have Honda engines?
Did
you check?
I don't know if they're made by Honda, honestly. We were joking saying it had some K-Series swapped in it, but I'm pretty sure, the engines are made by Honda. I could be wrong. I actually don't know.
What aircraft is it? What model?
The plane itself?
Yeah.
I believe it's just called a Honda Jet. It's like the model's like Honda Jet 420N or something. Yeah. So.
Why 420N?
I'm not sure. That's just the number that comes up after it. Like when you type in Honda Jet.
Is that the register number?
I don't know if that's a model number or what. But when you type in Honda Jet, you get Honda HA-420 Honda Jet.
Okay.
So
it doesn't say what engines it has?
It says it's a twin engine. It's powered by two GE Honda. Yeah. So it's probably a collaboration of Honda and GE.
It probably has like
HF120 turbofan engines and has a maximum cruise of 420 knots. So maybe that's where the 420.
Yeah, it probably has like the GE casing of it and then like Honda parts, you know? Probably. Could be. Right.
Yeah. Either way, it was cool.
Yeah, that's badass. I was like, damn. That was your first time flying?
Yeah. Yeah, big shout out to Cletus for that. That was a really cool experience. He set all that up for us.
Yeah.
That was something. It makes me want to like kind of get my pilot's license. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So.
Your private license?
Yeah, it'd be cool.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, I've heard. I just haven't had the time to do it. I haven't committed to it. But I've been thinking about it.
You can make vlogs about it.
Yeah, well, if I did it, I wouldn't film it.
Really?
Right away. I would want it, like, I wouldn't do it to, like, make content. I don't know.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
I feel like some people out there almost do it just for the purpose to make content. Like, I guess if I'm a new upcoming student, like, I don't want to be distracted by, like, making sure I got to film or set up my GoPro. Like, no, you can't mess around with that stuff.
Oh, you can't fuck
You got to
around
take
with
it
that.
serious. So.
Yeah. No hiccups.
No hiccups. So I wouldn't want to.
I got you.
I wouldn't want to even attempt to film it.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be my mindset on it.
That's a good mindset, though, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to mess around with that.
Yeah, one little mistake and it's over. Yeah. It could be over.
Could be, yeah. Possibly.
Yeah.
Depending on how, like.
And not only if you're endangering yourself, it's like you're flying basically a missile through the air. So yeah.
Sounds like you learned a lot on when you were flying.
I learned quite a bit.
What'd you learn?
I mean, I learned it specifically in that Honda Jet that I didn't realize how sophisticated the autopilot is in those things. I mean, that thing just flew itself.
Yep.
But I learned like what a directory is, like where it's trying to tell the plane to go versus what you're doing, and just learning to read the gauges a little better and what's what.
Did the yoke turn itself?
What's that?
Did the yoke turn itself?
I don't know if the yoke would turn itself, like with the autopilot gauge. Is that what you're asking?
Yep.
I honestly don't remember. I don't think it did, but it might have. I really didn't pay attention to that, honestly. Like, I know when you self-drive a Tesla, it turns itself, but I don't remember what it did in the Honda Jet.
What about the when you landed? Did you land it?
I had my hands on the controls
Right.
with him, so I felt all the inputs he was doing, but I wouldn't say I landed it.
Yeah.
But I understood what he was doing to land it, yeah.
Was he was the aircraft rated for a Cat 3, Cat 2, Cat 1
I'm not
landing?
sure.
Oh.
That's out of my
Yeah, because
airplane
like
knowledge.
Cat 2, Cat 3, like Cat 3 landing.
That just sounds like a hurricane.
Oh, you're from Florida.
Yeah. I hear cat in a number. I'm just like, that's...
He's already ducking and preparing his cars for, for the catastrophic. Nah, but so like Cat 3 is the pretty much. So they have different categories: Cat 3A, Cat 3B, Cat 3B, and no Cat 3. Yeah, Cat 3B. It lands itself, right? It pushes the brakes right when the tires hit the runway, and it drives. It taxis itself to the gate.
So Cat 3 is like the best
It's
autopilot.
like top notch.
Pretty much all of it.
Yeah. And it's like a certain distance.
And what's Cat 2?
Cat 2 is just so Cat 3 is like it detects the runway like 300 feet above 300 feet above the runway. It detects it, it starts detecting it. But Cat 2, it's like a lower detection, like you have to be, I believe it's like 150 or 200 feet.
He did tell me something about how like it autopilots all the way up until a certain point, and then he manually lands it. But I don't know if that's because he was choosing to do it that way.
Yeah.
Or if the plane was capable of doing more. Because he told me, he's like, you want autopilot to fly us in, or do you want to like land it by hand? And I was like, I already know the autopilot's gonna just butter it and work. I was like, I'd rather like kind of see what you do to actually land it. So he might have limited the autopilot so we could have my hands on the controls to feel the landing.
That's badass. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a cool experience.
Yeah. Can we go back to, I think we got sidetracked. Can we go back to
Talking about airplanes.
I know, right? Dude,
Well, you're a big airplane guy, so
when you
I'm a big model airplane guy.
I know, I seen them right now.
Yeah, I just grew up flying RC planes, so
Them things are sweet too.
yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, I like it. The WAGO car.
Oh yeah, WAGO.
Yeah.
The main reason I got it is because when I started working on my Civic more, at the time my Civic, I was driving it to high school, and I was about my senior year, and I started to take my Civic more seriously, and I ripped the motor out of it, and I was turboing it. At the time, I was still living at my parents' house the first time I was doing the motor swap on the car, and I did the first turbo kit on it, but then I had moved out, and I was starting to do upgrades to the car, and that's also when I started to do YouTube a little bit as well. And I knew I wanted to continue to like build the car more, and I was just looking for a daily, honestly. And I don't know if I saw like a picture of a slammed wagon on the internet or something, but I found out about them somehow online, and I just thought they looked cool, and I was like, that's the perfect. And at the time I used to go to the skate park a lot, and I'm like, that's a cool like little car I could have me and 4 friends hop in the back, and we could all mob to the skate park, and I thought it'd be sick just to have a daily like slammed like Civic wagon.
He said mob, like
Yeah, we just mob over and go to the skate park. But yeah, I was really just looking for a daily. Saw them online, and I thought they were cool. Like, they were different. Not everyone had a Civic wagon. They weren't very common. And I didn't even know they came all-wheel drive. When I bought that Civic, I actually, like I feel like I had seen things online about it, but I didn't care. I didn't think like, oh, I need to go find an all-wheel drive wagon. But when I went and found that one, it happened to be all-wheel drive, and I was like, oh, that's just a bonus. After I looked at it, I'm like, oh, these come all-wheel drive, and like I didn't even know they made a Honda like that was all-wheel drive. That was still considered a Civic, and I just bought it at a YMCA parking lot. It was for sale. I didn't look for it. It kind of found me. I just passed by it, and it was for sale. Had a for sale sign in the window, and I got it for $800.
Damn.
And then that was my daily, and then I was able to start working on my Civic more and not worry about how to get around. So I could start tearing that one apart, and I just drove my wagon, and that was pretty much it.
And then you went built on it, right?
Yeah, and then I built it. That's when the channel like actually really technically started.
Yeah.
Is because I had already like done a couple videos when I had the wagon and it was stock, but I didn't take YouTube very seriously. It was like one video every few months, maybe. You know, like it was whatever. I moved to a house and I took the wagon and my Civic with me, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to start doing YouTube a little bit more because I'd watch YouTubers I liked, and I was like, I'm gonna start by turboing my wagon. And my friend also had a Civic wagon as well, just like mine. And I was like, this is what we're gonna do. And we started to turbo our wagon. So my daily that was supposed to stay a daily, I started messing it up. And actually at one point it was broken. Like I had it apart to turbo it, and my other Civic was apart. And I have a little 50cc. I still have it here. It's a CRF 50 pit bike.
Okay.
And I registered it in Colorado as a low power scooter because you can get a little tag on there and you can register anything that's 49 cc's or under. And you'll see people like in the bike lane on a little like Vespa looking scooter, and that's how they like get to work and whatever. Really? And there's a time where I probably was down a car for a month or two, and I would just take my little pit bike everywhere around town. And if I needed a car, I'd have to borrow my parents or something because I started to take the daily apart, which I wasn't supposed to do.
Like everybody else.
Yeah, so I remember some of the first videos I don't know if I filmed it, but for me to get parts for the Civic, there was an Ace Hardware, like, it was like over a 20-minute ride away, and I would just take my little pit bike, and I had it souped up. It was a 88 big bore kit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it could go like 50, 55, and yeah, I'd go down to Ace Hardware and grab parts and come back and just film it. And at that time I was just going to school for welding, so I saved up a lot of money from my job. I worked at Discount Tire before that, so I had some money saved to just like pay, to live at the new house and stuff. And my idea was that I was going to get a good like welding job. That was my career path I was going to take, because I was like, welders make good money. I liked welding too. I did it in high school, and I really liked when I started TIG welding and stuff. So that was like the advantage I had too. When I started doing videos, I was able to help me and my friends, whoever needed like custom intercooler pipes done or manifolds. Like I'd help everybody, with welding and doing all that. But then the YouTube just started to grow, so I just was able to keep leaning into that, and I never had to take up welding as a job. So
yeah, but obviously it helps you now, right? Because you do your own.
Yeah, it's nice.
You do your own fabrication, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of our own fabrication here. I have a little more help here with Wyatt. He helps me a lot. But yeah, there's a lot of times when I still need to fabricate some stuff, and it's just nice to have the skill. We got our welders over there, and it's definitely nice to do it in-house and not have to rely on a shop or something to get it done. Yeah. So. And
you have Ace Hardware right there?
Yeah, our bolts and nuts kit there.
Right there, ready to go.
Yeah, that's a game changer right there. Really? That's probably the nicest thing. Yeah. It's one of those things that's like, before we got that, I would never probably spend the money, because you think like, oh, who's going to spend like $2,000-$3,000 on bolts and nuts? Like that's a lot of money for someone just to do it. But if you're a car guy and you're actively like running to Ace once a week or like, it just saves so much time, and in the long run it's going to save you money too, because the stuff at like the hardware stores are marked up pretty good when you can if you just buy it in bulk for cheaper. I mean, just know what bolts you think you buy all the common bolts you use and just stock up. I mean, that's been the nicest thing I think we've ever added to the shop, probably.
And you don't just have like grade 5, you have grade 8.
We got a decent selection over there.
Grade 10.9.
Yeah, it's really nice to have, for sure.
Yeah.
If we need something, like, even though we have an Ace just like 5 minutes away, just like if I just need one bolt, it's It's so annoying to just have to go all the way over there, buy one thing, come back, check it, make sure it was the right length. Like I'll like bring a test bolt with me, and it's just you go over there and it just saves time.
So what happens if you run out right there?
So what's cool about that system is you can see all those little barcodes.
Yeah.
The barcode is the size and it's the length and thread pitch of whatever bolt is in that cubby. So if the one cubby is getting low, you scan the barcode and it pulls it up that exact cubby to restock on the site, and you just order it, and then they'll send you
cool.
they'll send you a bag of just that one cubby that's empty, and you just restock it and you're done.
Is that from boltednuts.com?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. boltednuts.com.
Damn, they already have it set up. That's badass, honestly.
Yeah.
So if you have a shop, Kyle recommends
boltednuts.com.
Boom.
Andy's your guy. He's
Andy.
a really cool dude. Yeah, he came here and they set it up themselves. And he just likes to work with content creators and stuff. And it's cool because I guess he grew up watching stuff that we've done and some of the other YouTubers. So for him, it was kind of full circle to be able to help us. So, yeah, really awesome guy.
What car took the channel off to grow it to what it is now?
It's hard to say. My red hatch definitely is what got the ball rolling.
Okay.
So I have a red hatch just like this one, but with the H22 in it. That one is probably the most, at least for a while, it was the most iconic. Like that's the OG car is my hatch. Has the H22 Prelude motor in it, and I was able to make it really fast on a pretty tight budget for what it is. I just put, eBay turbos on it, and I was able to keep up with some like really fast cars. At the time, the bar's been it's a lot higher today, but back then, like having a 500 wheel horsepower Civic like 6, 7, 8 years ago, like that was a fast car on the street. Where now it's not as impressive because like the recipe is just out there and it's just becoming really easy for people to find the information. But back then, and when there was early YouTube, like there wasn't much information online on like what turbo to run, like to actually find out what to do. So I had to go on a lot of forums and just like figure it out kind of on my own, ask, local shops that I met over the time and go from there. But yeah, the OG hatch definitely was the most iconic. And then the Rhodessey, which is our first gen Honda Odyssey.
Okay.
Probably that one was pretty impactful as well. My thought with that was
a turbo one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to have an H22 in it as well. So we would take my hatch to car meets every weekend and we go street race people. So I'll run whatever. I don't care. I was like racing GTRs, Corvettes, Lambos. Like I just loved racing. I didn't care if I lost because some guys got so like they get so like butthurt if they lost. I'm always like, hey man, good race. Like I didn't have anything to prove. I was just out there just honestly having fun with my friends. And I thought it would be really funny because the Civic's already kind of a sleeper because most people, if you're the guy in the GTR, you don't want to get beat up by a Honda. Yeah. But I thought in my mind, especially since I was starting to do YouTube and we were growing a following, I'm like, man, imagine if we were doing these videos, but I was in like a minivan just blowing their doors off or something. So I found out that a first gen Honda Odyssey, it's a 4-cylinder and they make the mounts to put an H22 in it, just drop it in. So it's the same engine I already have in my Civic. So I'm like, I'll just put that same setup in an Odyssey and just go street race people. So I did the H22 in the Odyssey and I called it the Rhodessey. It's like the rowdy Honda Odyssey. And it was just front wheel drive at the time and had the H22 in there. It made like a little over 600 to the tires. I think actually on the H, we might have pushed it over 700 front wheel drive. And it was fast.
Factory block?
It was a H22A, which is factory closed deck, but I'm pretty sure that one had, I don't remember if I put the sleeves in that one or not, or if it just had, because the H22A has the factory closed deck block, and you can put the Molly Gold pistons in there. They have that coating that you can just put them right in.
Right.
But no other brand piston you can run. If it's a forged piston, it'll just mess up the cylinder walls.
Eat it up.
Yeah, it'll eat it up. I think it was just a rod and piston motor with a stock block. Yeah, and those were cheap rods, like $200, $300 eBay rods with those Molly Golds. And I probably had only $1,500 in the whole engine. And then I
Damn.
built the manifold myself, built the turbo kit myself, got an eBay turbo. It was a ball bearing eBay turbo, so, a little nicer than the journal bearing ones
Right.
that just would, at the time, the journal bearing ones, I was like, you're rolling the dice. But
Yeah.
the ball bearing ones were getting pretty good. So I spent like $400 or $500 on the ball bearing turbo. And I bought the van for $400 from some really sketchy guy in Denver. And I probably had $4,000 to $5,000 in the whole build when I was done with it. And it was making like 600-700 horsepower.
Damn.
Because I was able to save so much money because I did so much of it myself. Like
Right.
I bought the tubing for the manifold, the flanges, the intercooler core, did it all as much as I could because I just didn't really have the budget to do it any other way.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. And then we got invited, and our channel started to get some traction after I built that thing. And we got invited to do a YouTuber call-out challenge from Rob Ferretti. He's Super Speeders Rob. He's used to be a really popular OG YouTuber, and he invited us out there, and we were out there. That was like the first time I got to meet Adam LZ.
Nice.
And first time I met Cletus. First time I met David Patterson, that dude in blue, and many others. And our van went out there, and it did pretty good. Like, we did a half-mile event with it. We got to race Cletus and Leroy, and just between him and hanging out with Adam, Adam invited us over to his place, and I got to film stuff with him. So the era of when the Rhodessey kind of was doing its thing definitely promoted us a lot as well. That was a lot of growth for our channel that month. And at the time, it was like right at the end of my welding curriculum. I was getting close to like graduating, I guess you could say, but like getting my certificates. I had like a month left.
Damn.
And they call me, or I get the text from whatever it is, and they message me like, hey, you want to come to Florida for this big car challenge? And I'm like, I can't take off time because I'm about to finish school, and like I got this final project coming up and stuff. And I told my teachers about it, and they're like, their issue is like they said that they were going to fail me like on the spot because they said even if you get your work done, you don't meet the minimum hours.
Right.
Like even if I like presented the project and everything, and I was like, I couldn't skip on the opportunity. I told them, I was like, I got to do it. I was like, I'm going to get the project done, and if you fail me on the hours, then that's what it's going to be. And I went and I did it. It was really good for us, and so I was glad I went. And I got back, and I got my final project done. And I was a really good student in the class. I want to say I was like, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anyone, but I was definitely like top of my class. Like I got my stuff done. My welds were really good. They were always happy with my work. And they knew it was almost wrong to fail me because I got everything done.
Yeah.
They were just like, you don't have the time. And I remember they pulled me into the office, and they told me that I failed. And like, I honestly broke down, and I was like crying.
Damn.
And because I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because I spent money to be here. My parents were gonna kill me.
Yeah.
And then
That was your career. Yeah.
yeah, it was it was tough.
Yeah.
But they reversed it, and they talked to whoever, and they passed me. So I was like, fuck.
Damn.
I got off barely, and I got all my certificates that I didn't use. So that was a risk for me.
Oh yeah.
But into the I was so far, I was starting to get so into the YouTube that I was like, at that point, I feel like, because I was already starting to make money from it and stuff, I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, even if I fail this, I'm like, I don't think that's the path I'm going to go if this keeps working out for me. So, but I just had a lot of pressure, from my parents and stuff too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even for myself, I'm like, man, I took that course for I think it was a 2-year course.
Yeah.
So to do all that to feel like it was wasted and I don't get my certificates at the end would have been annoying.
Yeah. The trade school, right?
Yeah, it was a trade school in Greeley, Colorado.
Damn. So it was like do or die, right?
Yeah, I mean, they told me if you take this trip, you're gonna fail, and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You're presented with the biggest in that moment, that was the biggest opportunity we ever had. We were just YouTubers. That was the first time we would collaborate with all these bigger names than us, and I was like, I knew how good it would be for the channel and everything. So I was like, YOLO, I guess.
Yeah. Damn. And it paid off.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah. So if you weren't a YouTuber, you would be welding for what, underwater welding or?
I don't think I'd do any of that, but I feel like I probably would have some sort of fab shop for cars.
Okay.
I enjoyed doing that. Yeah, I'd probably just make manifolds, intercooler kits, and put more time into that to actually make like nice quality work. I still had a ways to go if I wanted to be like good enough to open my own shop. I definitely was good enough to make my own stuff, but I never took the time to like really make my stuff pretty and sit down and do it. Like I was always on that like I got to get this done for videos, like turn it around quick mindset. And I don't know, a lot of the stuff I made still turned out pretty nice. So I think if I dedicated my time and I had to go that route, then yeah, I would have been fabricating, building stuff for people.
Damn, that's
instead
crazy.
of doing it for ourselves.
How old were you when you were going to school?
I believe I think I started when I was 19 and got out when I was 21. Damn. Right around there, because I moved to that house when I was 19 and I had just started going to the school when I was 19, 20, somewhere in there.
What made you move to Florida?
Honestly, even right when we did that challenge with everybody in Florida, I didn't really get like a Florida bug in that moment, but I thought like, man, it's nice to, because I mean, we're coming from Colorado where it's during the winter and stuff, it's just cold all the time, and summer and stuff's nice out there, but just like going to Florida, just realizing it's just nice year round out there. There was all the automotive YouTubers out in Florida. Like I loved being there and like meeting up with those guys, and it was just a cool place to be. And we got a bigger shop in Colorado, and at one point we were going to Florida so often because we were going to a lot of Cletus's events. He'd always invite us out, and every time we'd go down there, I don't know, we always had fun. Or every time we'd come down here, we'd have fun, and I just like didn't want to leave. I was like, man, I really like it down there, and I just always had the thought like, man, it would be cool to live down there, and eventually it just happened. I just decided to do it.
I mean, I would say it's the same as people moving to California, like in the tech side before, right? Is that kind of like you moving here because of the YouTuber side of things?
Yeah, I'd say
Content
not even
creation.
The YouTubers that are around here are a plus, but I think the main reason is just the year-round weather. Yeah. Because I just kept going through, winters in Colorado, and every winter, like, it was really fun because my WAGO, I used to put like snow tires on it, and we go drift it all-wheel drive in the parking lots. That was fun. That's the only thing I miss is like drifting in the parking lots. Yeah. But other than that, it was really hard to and at this point I'm taking YouTube seriously. It's our full-time job, and like winters just slowed things down. There was no drag strip. Like our drag strip closed half the year because we had Bandimere Speedway, and it's only open 6 months out of the year. Yeah. And a lot of our content is around drag racing. So we do our best to try to make content while there's snow out, but there's only so much we could do. I'm not just what am I going to do with a turbo Civic in the snow? Like can't make much content out there. So it just got to a point where I was like, man, I think the move to Florida would be just beneficial for the business because it's just all year round videos, content, good weather other than rain and hurricanes during those seasons. And it just was the right move in my mind. And it finally built up to a point where I was like, I'm going to try it, take a risk. And
after the Odyssey, the Turbo Odyssey, you got into the MR2, correct?
Yep. I don't know exactly when I got the MR2. I think it was sometime in 2017 or 18 is when I got the MR2, and the channel was still really young. It was around the same time we moved to that house. So I'm actually trying to think. Actually, the MR2, I actually had the MR2 before the Rhodessey, actually, now that I think about it. And I K-swapped the MR2, but I never took it very seriously. Yeah. The Rhodessey got built up and became better than the MR2. And then when I was kind of done with the Rhodessey, then I focused more attention back on the MR2. And the real reason I got the MR2 was because back when I would street race my hatch, I used to street race, like I said, all the time. Right. I got to a point where the car was making like a little over 600 horsepower. And I was starting to push it closer to like into the 700 horsepower range, and it just got harder to put the traction down. It started to become useless. It would just start spinning real bad, and I noticed like racing, like I'd race one guy at 600 horsepower, and it'd be like a really close race, and I'd turn it up, make like closer to 7, and it'd still be the same race. I'm like, because I just start spinning, and I'd put a weight plate on the front of the car trying to keep up. And I'm sure there were more tricks that people knew that I just didn't, but I saw a video on 1320 video of that K-swapped MR2, that green one that was, that video that's like, who knows how many years old now, just mobbing on dudes.
Eight
that has
old?
to be an 8 or 9 year old video probably by now, maybe 10 almost. But, and you know, that thing was just putting, I mean, and it's a K series, so it's a Honda engine, but since it's in the back on the rear tires with all the weight transferring to the rear on the street, it just could put down 800,000-900,000 plus horsepower like no problem. And that was my thought with the MR2. I was like, I got to build one of those so I can like go mess up some of the faster guys on the street. But by the time the MR2 was like gnarlier and it was making 1,000 horsepower, the channel had grown so much that I had already stopped street racing, because at that point I didn't like filming it and putting it on the internet, because at some point I was going to get in trouble. Like I had cops that had seen our videos come up to us at meets and they're like, we know who you guys are, just so you know. So they were like, they never charged me with anything, but they like gave me warning. So it was enough to scare me away from doing it. So I was like, we'll just go to the drag strip. So then I started to take my Civic more and more to the track. And then that's when I got into drag racing more, is just to get off the street. And then I kind of set a new goal for myself. Then I started chasing the numbers at the track instead of trying to be the faster guy on the street. And I just had the MR2 left over from that, and I was like, I'm still going to build it.
You had any problems with insurance, like with YouTube and street racing?
No.
That's
no issues there, really.
Because
as far as like them insuring the cars?
Yeah,
no.
I've heard that before.
I have heard about that, but no, none of my insurance companies like dropped me because they saw me street racing. So luckily they didn't watch the videos, I guess.
Because I know Mexico recently, he was talking about when Mexico Racing League's channel was booming at the time, they dropped his insurance.
Yeah. I mean, and there's some YouTubers that have, I mean, there's videos of guys that just post them hauling on a street bike weaving through traffic, and they end up finding those guys and cracking down on them. So, yeah, I didn't want to get too into that. I mean, I understood that we were growing a big following, and it's only a matter, if I kept street racing, I was going to get in trouble. And I feel like I was starting to become a little more responsible. I was like, it's pretty dangerous. Like, I mean, our cars were getting so fast. I mean, we were racing people well over the speed limit. And
maybe because you were getting older as well. You were growing up.
Maybe a little bit of that too. I mean, we had some instances, like I had a boot pop out or a axle pop out once, like mid pull with my buddy in the car, and the whole Civic like torque steered to the side and like almost threw us off the shoulder.
On the street?
Yeah, like mid pull, and that was like a pretty scary moment too. So I was like, I've just had some moments like that, and as they piled, I'm like, dude, the longer you do this, you're on borrowed time. I feel like. So some guys,
you're knocking on some
doors. Majority of people will probably get away with it. And I feel like I was a really cautious, like safe street racer. Like I wouldn't run you unless it was wide open, no oncoming traffic. Cause I'm always in the mindset, like if my car gets loose and I swerve into the other lane, I don't want an oncoming car to wipe me out or anything. So I'm like, the only time I'm racing somebody is if someone's getting hurt, it's going to be just myself. And like my car goes off the road or something. I'm always thinking like, what are the worst case scenarios before I race? If I see a car come in or there's a normal passenger car right next to me, like I'm not gonna accidentally swerve into him.
Your vision is like boom, like wide.
I would only hit the gas if I'm like wide open, clear, blank road. And because I would see some guys that we'd cruise with in the same group, and you know they're doing triple digits past like just a pedestrian car just going this. I'm like, dude, you guys are nuts. Which I get it. It's probably really thrilling, but I was always cautious about the risks as well. So I was like, nah, I'm good.
So the MR2, just talk about if you can just hit. You have a bunch of cars that we're trying to cover, but if you can just hit off from the build from start to what it is now, and then how much power the MR2 has.
I got the MR2. It was bone stock. I took the stock motor out of it. Got a cheap Marketplace K-Series motor. I actually think I got it from my friend Brent. He had a shop in Colorado. He had a K-Series laying around that I got from him. I got mounts from Hux Racing. That was the first company to ever actually like sponsor us. The first time I ever got free parts or free anything from doing YouTube. And at that time we were like 60,000 subscribers. So that was pretty cool. Got the K-Series in there, ran it all motor for a little bit. And then I built a turbo kit for it. just on the stock motor, it ran, I think, the best of like a mid-11, just with the stock K24 in it, nothing crazy. And then I left it like that for a while. And then once I was ready to pull the trigger on going to the next step, I mean, the whole thing came apart. And I put a 10-point roll cage in it. I ordered, all the stuff for the bottom end, like 1,200 horsepower rods, triple disc clutch, and I just went all out. And I built a twin turbo kit for it. So the first 1,000 horsepower I'd ever made was on 2 eBay turbos. Damn. So it was the same turbo that I ran on my Civic and on the Rhodessey, but I was like, what if we do 2 of them? It was actually Brent's idea. He's like, I think 2 of those would make like a lot of power. So I was like, I'll try. I had enough room, so I twin turboed the MR2. I still have the old manifold back up there. And
I see it.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere. But I was like, I think it's a little farther back than that. I only see the Tesla doors. I bought the sequential transmission for it as well, which at that time that was the biggest bill I ever paid, was getting a sequential for the car. Yeah. Because I wanted it to be really just badass. Yeah. And got the sequential for it, twin turboed it, and made 1,000 horsepower. And I was able to push that setup to an 8.3, 169 miles an hour after going at it for a good year or two. Mm-hmm. And that I was really proud of that, because that was the car at that point was basically a car I built 100% on my own, like every part of it. I didn't have any outside help, which like for me just like felt nice, because I always looked at really fast cars as like something I could never achieve. I was like, man, these guys they know way more than me. Like I just didn't think I was even capable of doing that. So it was really cool to be able just to build the car from scratch, and definitely had a little bit of pride in it, like knowing that I touched every nut and bolt and did every weld on the car, built the cage, the turbo kit, built the engine. I assembled the transmission myself, all of it. The only thing I had help really with was the tuning side of it, which Brent tuned the car for me at the time. And then probably just some small little like wiring things here and there he helped me with, but the wiring was not that great. But I did most of it. It wasn't great though. But he helped me. I remember he sat down one day. I'm like, Brent, I need you to help me finalize some of this wiring, because that was the one thing I never got good at, was wiring. That's the one thing that if a good wiring job done, like that's something I have to have someone else do or take it to a shop. Yeah. So I'm good at like the physical parts side of things and putting it together, but wiring I don't dive into too much. Yeah. Understand it, but I feel like I don't have the patience for wiring for some reason. Yeah. But I got to that point, and then I ran the 8.3. And at the time, there was another MR2 in the United Kingdom, and he had also run an 8.3, and he just was barely ahead of us. And he had the record, and we were the second fastest. And once we ran the 8.3, that was like everything that setup had in it. Like we were at the limit of the fuel system. Like I was starting to break. Like the injectors were like 100% maxed out. Like we had no more fuel pump, no more fuel, and the turbos at 40 pounds, those eBay turbos were starting to like just not like their life. They're starting to spill oil, and like I was like, I don't know if these things are gonna explode. So we knew we were getting really close to the 7s, and I'm like, we just gotta go for a 7 now, because I wanted to be the first 7-second MR2 and beat the other one out, because there's only one first person to whatever. And we took the whole car apart again and built a new engine for it, this time with aluminum rods. I was like, I researched all the best engines I could get. I think that one I had JBR put together for me. So that was the first engine I didn't build myself. Right. So I was like, I just want to make sure it's good, and put a big old single precision turbo on it. I was like, I need stuff that is proven and that works. So I was like, now we're going to actually make it go fast. I'm done with the eBay turbos on this thing. Like, this is a build I need to start to put some money into and make it work. Yeah. And we did all that, put it on a fuel tech, which was huge, because we also had issues with the wheelies. When it was on the twin turbo setup, the thing would just wheelie like crazy because there's no weight in the front. So I had these 50-pound sandbags that I'd put up in the nose of it just to help keep it from wheeling. Plus it has a 200-pound weight plate right here. Damn. This will be knowledge that you need to remember from when I tell you about the NSX. But okay. It has a big old weight plate in the front, so we were able to keep the wheelies down, but it wasn't a good like system, like it's just crude. Like we're just throwing stuff in the front, and then we put it on fuel tech, and then we were able to add a laser height sensor. Yep. So when it comes up, you pull power, and we were able to dial in the wheelies, and that actually led us to taking weight back out of the front, because now we don't have to rely on the weight. We can just we can actually tune the power management to get it right where it needed to be.
Like set a target for it.
Yeah. And then, we did all that. And I mean, in the first, I think it was the first 2 or 3 outings on the new setup, it ran the first 7, right away.
First one in the 7s.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And for me in that moment, it's just, I was like, I don't even need to keep pushing. I felt like I had nothing more to prove. I was like, man, I did it. Like, we freaking built a gnarly MR2. And I was just happy. I was like, I just did it because it was my passion. I was like, this is sick. And I didn't know where to go after that. And then we just kept making it faster because it kept getting faster.
So it still has that same engine in it?
Basically, it was a K20 at the time, and I went back to a K24.
Okay.
So the K20, the thought behind that originally was that I wanted less torque because I thought the wheelies, the more torque, I thought it was harder to control. So I went to a K20, and I also needed more RPM because the way my transmission was geared at the time, I was right on the edge of, because that's a 5-speed, and all my passes before I'd only use 4th gear. I'd never have to use 5th.
Right.
And so I was like, I just need a little more RPM. So I wanted to so I went to a K20 because I could rev it at least 1,000 RPM more compared to the 24. And I was like, well, then I don't got to waste time clicking into 5th gear. It's not an extra gear change or anything.
Yeah.
So that was my thought. But then I went back. But then after we got the chassis right, we got the weight where we wanted it to be, we got to a point to where the K20 on full tilt, we fought this issue where sometimes it would bog the car. We didn't have enough torque to get it going. And I was confident that now that we figured out the wheelies and stuff, I'm like, I think we should try going back to the 24 and having because if we can use it right, it should help us.
Right.
It's better to have the power on tap than to not have it.
Exactly.
Because we got to a point where I was trying to throw everything at the launch, and it would bog sometimes, or we'd have to slip the clutch a little harder than I want to get it to work. So that was my thought. I just wanted to try it. Plus, the parts were easier to find for the 24. They're a little cheaper to build. And you can find K24 cranks and bottom ends everywhere, where the K20 stuff is a little harder to find.
Right.
So that was also part of it, too. I wanted to be able to have a program where I can have backup motors and not have it be hard to find parts. But I went back to the K24. But other than that, the turbo got a little bigger since then and some small changes. But overall, everything's about the same as it was. And then we upgraded the cage, so now it has a 25 cert cage. That cage is certed to, I believe, 650s if it were ever to go that fast. Because before, when we ran the first 7, it only had a 10 point in it.
Okay.
So which was an 850 cert, so we broke that cert. So we had to upgrade the cage and do all that. But for the most part, it's still on
fuel tech.
Yeah, still on fuel tech. It was on a 550 at first, but now it's on a 600.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
So now, what? You went to World Cup. You set the record, and then it got broke 2 days after.
Yeah. So, it got broke before World Cup. These guys in Canada, they have the green MR2.
It wasn't the UK guy?
No.
Damn.
No, he's still trying to get into the 7s. His challenge is he's also still on the Toyota engine.
Okay.
So he's trying to make the Toyota. So he's still a true 100% MR2, but that one has a billet engine now and all this. So it's the original. It's based off the original engine, but it doesn't actually have an original cast Toyota engine in it anymore. Or at least we still do have the cast K20s. I mean, it's crazy how far they've been pushed. But yeah, I know that one beat us. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was a month or something before World Cup. They had some event. And they beat our time by just a couple hundredths. We went a 757, and I think they went a 755. So they barely beat us out. And then I was like, all right, at World Cup we gotta get that back. Yeah. And we did get it back. We went a 752 or something. So we didn't break the record by much more, but we did get it back. And then after World Cup ended, they had a private rental. I had a rocker arm that was down, so we were down a valve, and I wanted to run again to try to push for the go deeper, but we were just broken, and the other MR2 just buried it, and they got a pass, and they went 730 at 202, and they crushed it. So I was like, fuck, man. Yeah. But at that point, I'm obviously going to keep trying to chase it, but I was already just running the first 7. I was already like, man, like that was the highest moment I feel like for what we accomplished. I feel like now it's just chasing the tails. Like now it's just kind of fun to go back and forth, but it didn't. Now if we beat the record again, I'm not going to have that same accomplishment feeling. I'm not as driven to like to push for it, even though I still want to do it. But the first 7 to me would always be the best moment. But after seeing their MR2 go and seeing some of the short track times we have found, because we also switched to a radial.
Okay.
And that improved the 60 foots as well, something that I saw the other MR2 do, and another MR2 in the past that I know have had radials, and I had always wanted to try them, but I didn't want to get too far off what we know, because it always worked good on the slicks. But then after World Cup, I was like, all right, we got to try the radials, because that other MR2 just showed that they work good.
Yeah.
And put it on the radial, and we saw some numbers fall off the 60 foot like right away, and now we can see that it's clear that with enough power added to the short track that we've already seen that they can go 6s.
Damn.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be just a matter of when, but an MR2 is probably going to go a 6 in the future. I'm almost sure of it at this point.
Right.
I don't know if it'll be us, that other MR2, or what's going to come out of it, but I honestly thought it was impossible, because I was like, unless you have wheelie bars or something, I just thought they'd flip over or something with the engine being in the back and how short the wheelbase is.
Right.
But
that's soup, man. It's little, tiny.
Yeah, but we've seen the numbers to do it. So I mean, the best we've gone so far in this is a 120 60 foot, and I mean, if you combine that with 1700 horsepower out the back, put down properly, and you're trapping somewhere near 200 with a a good short track, I mean, it's going to do a 690.
Yeah. Damn.
And you've seen there's Red Demon, the stick shift car, he's been 680s at 215, and I've looked at their slips, and they're going 125 60 foot, and they're still getting into the 6s. So I mean, the Ricer math adds up. Right. We got these numbers here in the short track. If we just get that power out the back to match it,
what was the 330?
It's possible. Our 330?
Yeah, your best 330.
I think it was a 320 something. I don't know for sure, but in the 3.2s, I'm pretty sure. And the best 8th was a 480 something, 487, something like that at 100. And actually, and what sucks is we were on a pass to beat their 731 in testing. We got back and we went a 120 60 foot, and when they ran that 731, they did a 125.
Damn.
So we had a quicker 60 foot, we had a quicker 330. We had almost the identical 8th, almost to the number, but we had 10 less mile an hour because we had a boost control issue, and we dropped 20 pounds in the pass when we're normally 10 mile an hour up from that.
Right.
And we had it right there. It went a 742 like that.
Damn.
And it would have had it if the boost didn't drop off. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
If not, it would have been tied.
Yeah.
We would have been in the 7.3s no matter what. But the numbers showed that it would have beat that time if the power was there, but it wasn't. We had a small issue, and
little hiccup.
it was what it is what it is. So.
Yeah. So let's say someone wants to build the same MR2, right? What would it cost for someone to build it?
I feel like it's a tough question, because also considering, like I said, we do a lot of the work ourselves. So I guess you got to start with if you're doing it yourself compared to a shop.
Right.
If you have a shop build it, it's going to be over 100,000.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, just labor. I mean, it's not especially when you
Right.
consider the cage and building the motor.
Yeah. So you did your own cage.
The first one I did on my own. This one was done by my friend Hayden.
Okay.
He came over here and helped me do it.
So let's say
He did all of it.
someone's feeling really brave, right? And they're like, man, I want to build an MR2 like that and vlog it and do this and that, right? What would it cost to build that?
If you're doing a lot of the work on your own, and I'm
Right.
assuming that you're someone that is competent and willing to learn and you figure it out, I don't know. The base price of the car is going to be a big number. How clean is the MR2 you're starting with?
Yeah.
But yeah, to give you rough estimates, man, I mean, an MR2 shell is going to be $5,000 to $10,000. Let's say a non-running MR2, because they've gone up a little bit. We'll call it a solid $6,500 for the MR2 shell. That's probably pretty reasonable. for like a decently clean
Yeah,
shell. You're gonna have in the engine, stay cast like this one. I'd probably say around 10 grand. The transmission, this one has the bell housing on the sequential, so that's like an extra 2 grand. All in the transmission's probably 8 to 9, maybe we'll call it 10.
Okay.
To be buffer that a little bit. So 20 grand gets you the engine and trans for sure.
Yeah.
6,000 for the car roughly. ECU is going to cost you another couple thousand. So we'll call it 30 there. Turbo kit.
Yeah, turbo kit.
Let's say whole turbo kit, good turbo kit, intercooler, everything and all. We'll call it, with the nice turbo, we'll call it, I'll say 5-6 grand.
Okay.
That might be a little bit more, but we'll call it 5. We'll say that you built the manifold yourself. Make it 5 grand.
Fuel system.
Fuel system isn't too expensive. That's probably maybe $1,000. Probably 2,000 for the pump we have.
Okay.
$1,000 for the lines in the tank, and then 1,000 for the pump. Couple grand, and there's not much else. I mean, you got the clutch, and I guess maybe like 3 grand for the fuel system if you include the injectors.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The wheels and suspension. I mean, what are we at? Let's just call it, I mean, you're going to be probably 50, 60 grand.
60.
I'd say, like 60 for sure. I'd say that's pretty reasonable. I think that's about what because I was asked the same question on a different podcast, and I think I ended right around 60 would be about the number.
Not bad for a 6-second car.
Well, 7.
Well, yeah. Potentially.
Potential, though.
6, yeah.
Potentially a 6-second car.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is how often you have to keep up with it.
The maintenance.
That gets you the car, but you get 20 runs on the engine before you got to put another one in it.
Yeah. Why is that?
It's just the power level it's at. I mean, the physical components in there are just out there. They're getting close to the just physical limits of the material in there. So that's why, a top fuel car changes its rods every pass. Because they're running those engines on the edge every time, so they can't risk running it twice, because it's a much higher likelihood that it's going to break if they try to run the same engine twice after it just got 10, 15,000 horsepower shoved through it.
Right.
So it's basically like top fuel, but scaled down a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're almost making the same power per displacement as a top fuel car. I don't think it's as quite the same, but a top fuel car is like, I think 8 liter making like 10,000 horsepower, where we're 2 liter making like 1,000 to 2,000 horsepower on like an extreme setup. Right. So
the ratio is
it's not far off. I mean, I'm making like 1,600. So for me to be like the same ratio as a top fuel car would be this thing making 2,000 ish horsepower, and we're making like 1,600. So I mean, we're like not far off. Not 1,600 to the tire. So I mean, we're probably almost 1,800 at the crank. So and we're putting it through like 10, 20 passes, where the top fuel guys change it every pass, no matter what.
Right.
And even guys that race Pro Mod, I'm sure they're changing their rods out pretty often as well.
So we're done with the MR2. We got to talk about the drag NSX.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Well, we want to know the power plant behind it. What's gonna power the drag NSX? So
my thought on the drag NSX is that, for one, I love NSXs. They're just awesome. We got the orange one out there.
Yeah,
it's a K-Series NSX. It's like a good street car right now. We took it to the track once, and it popped off in 8, like a high 8, like really not even trying. And I was like, man, there's a lot of potential just in this chassis. And I saw the opportunity too, because I haven't seen anyone that's taken an NSX and like turn it into a serious drag car. The only things that you see done to them really are like some road course and road race stuff, but you've never seen an NSX with like a full-blown funny car cage and everything, because it's not many people would take that kind of car and do that to it.
That's true.
But after running the MR2, I saw some of the benefits that the NSX chassis would have over it. The NSX chassis is all aluminum, so they're already really light, especially with the K-Series. So I think we'll be able to make it lighter than the MR2. And it also has, I believe, like 5 to 6 inches more wheelbase. So the NSX is longer. So that means any weight we put on the nut, like we have the big weight plate out here. Imagine if this weight was 5 inches more forward, that's more leverage.
Right.
That's going to be harder for it to do a wheelie, just like why a top fuel car is so long.
Right.
It makes them hard to to tilt up on the back tire like that. So my thought is that with the bigger wheelbase, longer wheelbase, less weight, and they can fit a bigger tire naturally. Like my NSX over there has a 28-inch tall radial on it. We couldn't fit a 28 on this MR2. Right. It just wouldn't fit. And just the potential of all that combined makes me assume that an NSX chassis should be able to short track a little better than a MR2, and with it being lighter, not take as much power out the back to go the same speeds. Plus, I would want to say they might even be more aerodynamic. They're very sleek. The roof is small and narrowed. So there's all those little benefits, and I just think an NSX has the potential to be a couple tenths faster than an MR2 just based on the chassis alone. That's what I'm thinking. And so I wanted to go out and do a drag NSX build, and I got one, and it's over at my buddy Hayden's shop, the same one that did the cage in this. Right. And he did a full 25 cert roll cage in it. And we're getting it back here this year, and we're going to start putting that one together. And we got a really cool wheelie control idea. It's going to be wheelie control.
Wheelie control.
So yeah, this will be the part that you can show later, because I've kept it a secret. I don't know how well it's going to work. It could totally flop and it like just not even work out for me.
But it can also be like...
But it could be badass. Really sick.
Yeah.
And I already spent some money on these things, so I'm hoping it works. But I'll be right back.
Okay. Guys, Kyle left. He went to go grab something to show everybody. We don't know what it is, but I think it's gonna be badass, honestly. Oh, and by the way, it's 2:00 in the morning. It's 2:00 in the morning on a Wednesday. I hope this is not disappointment, guys.
Here she is. I have 2 of these. This is...
Dang, you're still ordering stuff on eBay.
Is it from
no,
eBay?
I'm just playing.
I was like, these did come a long ways to get here.
Okay.
Alright. So, in here, we got...
What the hell? What was your idea on it? Like the Challenger, the Hellcat Plaid?
Yeah. I originally got the Plaid to do the minivan swap. Like I told you, I found that the bodies were the same wheelbase. So got the Plaid, cut it up, put the minivan on it, and it was cool, but there were some proportions that were a little off. Like the dash was really long on the Tesla, and the way the seat was lined up just didn't feel right. Like the B-pillar was like right here next to you instead of a little farther back where it should be, just because of the way things lined up. But it worked out pretty good, and I found out that a Model X Tesla would fit the van shell better. So I ended up getting a Model X that I have out here, and I'm going to put the minivan body onto the Model X, because then the seating position and dash will feel more normal. When you get in it, you won't think like, why does this feel weird? It'll just line up a lot better. And then I was just going through a database of, because I didn't know what else I could do with the Model S if I took it apart. And I was just on a wheelbase database on the internet. You basically can just go on this website and just look up any models with a certain wheelbase. And I found that the Challenger had the same wheelbase as the Model S. And I ran the idea by a couple guys, and they're like, yeah, that'd be a sick idea. And we got the Challenger body and just did it. And so it's still in its infancy phase right now.
Yeah.
But we still got to put the windows back in it, get a wire, put the interior in it. But they fit on there pretty good.
What's the hiccups you ran into?
Hiccups?
Yeah.
We didn't really run into too many hiccups on the Challenger. It went on really smooth. The biggest one was that the rear shock towers on the Tesla, the shock towers are really tall because they have factory air suspension, and they're really tall for some reason. And so they get like right up into the back window. So we almost couldn't set the body down far enough because the tops of the shock towers are about to touch the back window. So I would have liked to mount it a couple inches lower, but we had to stop where those shock towers ended up, or else we would have had to like completely modify them, and it would have been a ton of like work.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to mess with the factory Tesla skateboard, so we just got it as low as we could, and then I added some like lowering stuff to get the body a little lower. Like we lowered the suspension of the Tesla to make it look better, but other than that, it went on really straightforward.
Really?
And since I had already done it with the van, it was pretty straightforward, honestly.
Damn. So it should be faster than a Hellcat.
Then a Hellcat, yeah. Especially on a non-prepped road, like from a dig at any intersection, I don't think there's any Hellcat out there, honestly, that could beat it. On like a truly virgin unprepped road, I don't think they could put the power down.
Yeah,
but obviously at a drag strip, it would get smoked by like a built Hellcat. But if you had a 2,000 horsepower Hellcat on some slicks next to me at a light that no one's raced on before, I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So
it's all-wheel drive. And
yeah, it just hooks up and goes on
what is
like
it, 2.9?
The 0 to 60 or something.
Yeah, 0 to 60. 1.
It's advertised as 1.9, yeah, but it's realistically like 2.3, 2.4 on a draggy.
Okay.
But it's quick. Yeah. It'll run just as it sits. It'll run on any virgin road. It'd probably run 5.9, 6.0 in the eighth, just like that. So I mean, I guess there are some cars that could do that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say you would see many Hellcats that are actually like set up to no prep race or.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure there's like a very small handful of Hellcats that exist that could like give it a run for its money on like a true no prep, but it'd be tough.
I haven't seen.
And it's just it's just so consistent. It's a Tesla at the end of the day. It's gonna do the same thing every time.
Yeah. And the steering wheel, is it the round one or is
it's
it
a yoke?
The yoke.
It's the plaid yoke. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna change it, or just add the?
I don't know what I'm going to do about it yet. For now, I'm just going to leave it how it is. I want to get the rest of the interior and stuff in it and work on that, but I'll probably change. It would be nice to have the circle wheel.
Yeah.
I would think I like it better. The yoke's cool, but to make it match the body and the Hellcat style, the circle wheel needs to happen.
Are you going to put like the Hellcat logo or something on the steering wheel?
Yeah, I mean, we got the badges for the side, but I don't know how far we'll take the interior. I'll probably leave the interior mostly Tesla. Just stock Tesla interior. Because it all works too. Like it still has the heater, the AC, the radio. Yeah, it's all right there. Because all the climate controls under the dash. Yeah. And it all works. It's still everything's integrated into the touchscreen. So you can get in it right now and all functions are there for the most part.
That's crazy.
As far as the entertainment center and climate control, we still got to wire the windows in and headlights, but... When
will it be done?
I don't know. Just whenever we get to it.
Yeah.
We're just kind of building it at our own pace. I don't really have a deadline for it. I thought it would be really cool if it was clean enough to take it or the Plaidesy once the second version's done to like bring them to SEMA or something. I think that'd be kind of cool if they're like presented well and people could check them out. So that might be a goal for one of them, like maybe SEMA this year or something.
Yeah.
But
it definitely would be better than the fake Miata Lamborghini car.
Yeah, that thing was going around, and it was just an LS with a V10 Lambo intake adapted to it with no injector harness. Yeah. Didn't run.
I think people would rather see that than the Miata, the fake Miata.
Yeah, sometimes that silly stuff, it goes viral sometimes.
It did go viral.
It would be cool if it was an actual Lambo engine.
Yeah,
like
that would be sick.
That's the thing is people thought it was a Lambo engine, so that's why it did so good. Yeah. They fooled everybody.
So that was, I mean, they did fool a lot of people.
It had me fooled. When I was swiping, I don't look into things. Yeah. I would believe it. I'd be like, oh, it's a Miata at SEMA, and you see the intake. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They stuffed a Lambo engine in there. But then it's not until I see a couple reels later, people are like zooming in. They're like, oh, it's actually a LS. So I thought it was real when I saw it. But then we had a lot of people out there making sure everyone knew that it was not real.
Can you just touch on the all-wheel drive event? Like, obviously, you got beat at the all-wheel drive event, right?
Yeah, the last one we got beat pretty easily. I think we beat, Miguel from Midnight was in a... Actually, how many have they done now? I don't even remember if it was this...
2.
Have I only been to 2? Okay.
No, they've done two events already.
I think Cletus has done 3. Yeah, he did 3 because the first one we won in the Plaidesy. because he didn't have any of the midnight guys there.
Okay, so yeah.
And we won. And then the second one, we still had the Rhodessey, and I beat Miguel in the black Shelby that he had, just like the bolt-on supercharger Shelby.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of their fast trucks, and I think I beat that one.
That's right, yeah.
Because I beat him the first race, and then I went out to Beto the second race in the purple truck. And
Velocity.
then, is that what that one's called?
No, they call it
No,
Grimace.
Gangbang.
Oh, the on the gas truck.
On the gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beto, right? Yeah, on the gas.
You beat that one?
No, he beat me.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I beat Miguel in the black one,
Right.
and then the on the gas Gangbang truck beat me pretty easily. And then I took the van body off completely, and I tried to put like radials on it and get it light because I thought it would have a good chance, which it did. It picked up like 0.4 to the eighth, so it was definitely a lot quicker. But those guys just brought even faster stuff, and Miguel called me out the first round in Gator, I think is the name of the truck.
Yeah.
Twin turbo F-150, and yeah, he beat me pretty easily. Like, it wasn't a super close race, but he didn't just like dog walk me.
Yeah.
But he beat me, and I just went out first round in the Tesla, and it was running like in that 590 range on the street right there. So they were definitely probably going closer to mid fives.
Yeah.
5.6s, 5.7s, just enough to get me by a couple tenths for sure.
And you said you weren't racing on this next one coming up, right?
No, I don't have anything serious enough for that. I brought the Tesla just for fun, you know. Yeah. I don't want to be that guy like, oh yeah, I got my Tesla. Like, I was just bringing it because that's the only all-wheel drive car I had. It's not
probably like, man, don't bring the Tesla no more.
Like if I won, I'd almost feel bad. Like I'd be like, these guys don't like, they don't want me here. It's I didn't actually do any performance work on that thing other than gut it
and charge
it. I wouldn't feel proud if it did good. It was funny when it was I loved when it was the van though.
Yeah.
Because it's like the sleeper, like, oh, you get beat by it.
Oh,
it's funny when it's the van.
Yeah.
But when it was just the gutted, pulled apart Tesla and it just lost first round, I was like, yeah, it was whatever.
Yeah. The biggest questions I have for you is, where do you get like the idea of building these cars?
I think a lot of it is just I always use the term rice or math. That's how I come up with all my ideas. It's like I'm not doing real calculations on paper or anything, but I like that 2JZ Civic over there. My thought is, okay, I want to build a cool drag and drive car. Like, that's the subject. Cool drag and drive car, what can I do? Because we need something more serious to like make a name for ourselves and go a little faster with the fast guys. So I'm like, I need something that can run, let's say, consistent 7s, maybe a high 6 on kill.
Yeah.
A K-Series, not going to happen on a drag and drive car, realistically. Possible, but realistically, I'm going to probably string a K-Series out too hard. So I'll think, what engines can I do? Like maybe a 2JZ. That would be a good option. They can run, it's been proven. Yeah. And I see other people that do it. Real Street had their white Supra that did a drag and drive. They ran 6s on a drag and drive with a 2JZ in their Supra. And then I'm also thinking, well, where are our roots? We do the Honda stuff. I love Civics. I thought it'd be cool to do a rear-wheel drive 2J Civic. I actually already got the chassis. Didn't have plans of exactly what I wanted to do with it. I just got the chassis at the time, and then eventually I got the idea. Because my original thought was I was actually going to put a V8 in the Civic. I was going to do like an LS or something because I wanted reliable, fast power. But part of me just didn't want to put a V8 in it. I wanted to kind of keep it import, and the V8 just didn't really get me that excited.
Yeah.
And then I thought about a 2J, and that just sounded way more right to me.
Yeah.
And so then I went that route. So that's like my process is just kind of like I see other things that work, and I try to apply it to what we're doing, and I just do my best to try to think outside the box and make it creative. I don't want to copy somebody like build for build.
Yeah.
But I'll see what they did to make it work, and then I'll just assume, well, the Civic's going to be light. It has the power plant that a 6-second Supra has in it. There's no reason, once it's all ironed out, we shouldn't be able to run consistent 7s, if not high 6s, at a drag and drive. And it's unique. I'll look up, has someone done a 2J Civic? Would it be played out? I want to make sure it's something that our viewers would like, and I also got to make sure it's something I want, because if I'm doing something just because there's not almost any projects we do that I do just for the sake of content. It's all stuff that I like to do just to do it. And I think a lot of people see the the genuine enthusiasm and excitement in you see my mindset, like I'm excited to just try these ideas to see how it works. So I feel like I have to do things that excite me, and there are moments like even on the MR2 that like I get burnt out working on this thing because it's been played out and I'm past the point of excitement. Yeah. It ran at 7. We can push it deeper, but I'm like on the edge of this engine every time just to try to squeeze out a number, and it gets repetitive, and I'm not as enthusiastic about it anymore. Right. I still love it, and that's the same thing with the Teslas. It's a new thing. It interests me, and I think the genuine interest and curiosity just comes through on the videos, and I just try to take that approach to everything. Just try to keep it unique and really just film what I'm doing. Honestly, I really don't have a strategy. Yeah. So these ideas just come to me, and people obviously seem to think they're interesting too because they watch, and that just keeps me fueled to keep trying to think of more stuff. Like, what else can I think of that I think would be a cool idea for everybody, and myself. Right.
I think it's super important too to keep it natural for what you want to do, instead of like just making content for the audience, Yeah. Like that's because you'll get burnt out as well.
I think that's where there's a big advantage there, because this is what I love to do, and even if we didn't have the YouTube channel, I'd still be doing some version of this regardless. Yeah. And maybe it won't be my main job, but this would be my hobby. I'd still be building weird like stuff or wrenching on the race cars. And I think for a lot of people, like, I feel like it would be tough. Imagine you're like doing like pranks for content or something, and it's like you do it because the views are good, but you don't actually enjoy doing it, but you just do it because it's like almost your job. Yeah. It's like at some point you'll get burnt out on that, and it won't come naturally to you as a creator, I feel like. And you have when you have to start forcing yourself to make content, that's when it really gets ugly. I think it'll come through to the cameras too. It's like it just gets hard to put on the fake face, like, I love doing this every day. but no, most of the stuff we do here, it's like it's just what I like to do. It's just my general curiosity, and the people that watch are the only reason I can afford to like do cooler and crazier ideas. Like when I started the channel, I would have never been able to afford to buy a Plaid and cut it up just to put a minivan body on it. Yeah. But here we are now. It's pretty wild.
What are your thoughts on at World Cup when Cletus was racing Hayabusa?
Oh yeah, that race. Yeah. That's a tough one. I've seen both sides about it. I saw him after when it was over, and he wasn't happy with it, and I saw people asking Hayabusa about it, and he's just like, he doesn't give a shit. But I feel like end of the day, it comes down to the tree, and I watched the video where his car was kind of flickering the bulb, and my understanding of it, like from what I saw, is like he didn't mean to burn him down. It didn't look like it. It looked like he was clearly trying to bump in. Obviously, maybe he just had an issue with the car. The bumper was tripping the beam weird or something, but it looks like he was genuinely, he was ready to go. Yeah, he let Cletus be on the two-step for a bit, but end of the day, that's just the tree. Like, it has that time limit for a reason, and he just so happened to get kind of, I guess you could say, like, it worked to his advantage. You could say he got lucky that the bulb was being weird, but it didn't seem like he meant to do that. And at the end of the day, it's up to the tree. Oh. I mean, they dropped, they went green, and Cletus's car had issues, and even with him he went like a 0.8 on the tree, and he still came around him. So I'm not sure if there was a issue with Cletus's car. I had heard the clutch might have got hot because he was burnt down, but I kind of agree. I don't know if I fully agree with like being able to be burned down, or else they would shorten that time limit up. I mean, I thought it would be like if you have a drag car, because there's also a timer you have to come in once you're both on the first stage of bulbs. Right. Once the first car sets, I mean, there's a countdown. If the other car doesn't come in, then they time out. Right. And the flickering just gave him a couple seconds, so it's hard to justify like, oh, that 1 or 2 extra seconds of flickering like totally changed the race. Right. I just, like I said, I leave it up to the tree. I don't really have an opinion on it. I'm like, oh, it's like, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have those weird situations in drag racing, and there's really nothing they could have done differently about it.
Right. Guys, I just want to let everybody know it's 2:30 in the morning. We're doing the podcast. Late. Huh?
I said it is late.
It is super late.
I told him you can stay as long as you want, so he took me up on that one.
That's what he said, but I don't know.
I'm chilling. I'm good.
Okay. My question to you is, when it comes down to content, how do you think it's growing, or its growth in the past like 5 years?
Has it evolved over the last 5 years?
Sure.
Is that kind of what you're asking? Like, has it stayed the same? Has it gotten more creative?
Yes. Yeah.
To me, it seems pretty repetitive for a lot of the established creators that are out there. You see a lot of the guys continuing to do the same thing they've always done. If it's a drift-related channel, they're still drifting, or they're building a drift-related build.
Yeah.
And like us, like, we do Hondas. I've been building K-Series projects for I don't know how many years now, and it seems like a lot of the guys seem to do relatively, the same thing for the most part. A lot of guys are getting pretty creative and, doing different things here and there, but I don't know. I feel like it is in a different era right now, where I feel like a lot of stuff being pushed out, at least from some people, almost it's definitely different to see the shift from what I feel like when we started was more vlog style, like you're just filming yourself in the shop with your guys, where it seems like, especially like shorts, especially content that's made for like shorts and stuff, a lot of it is filmed for the sole purpose of like going viral or being content or things like that. And there is definitely this one-up yourself that every YouTuber like deals with. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going around where you got the channels that rebuild cars, and they always got to buy something crazier to rebuild, and a lot of those channels are very repetitive. They buy a salvage car off auction, rebuild it. Like, that's a super repetitive strategy, but it works good, and they do great. But I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like it feels like a lot has changed, but at the same time, not much has really changed. Like, there's no, other than like Whistle and Diesel or something, like there's no one that really like sticks out there in the car world that like really makes a strong impact to stand apart from the rest, Right. I don't know if you could like think of anyone else, but I think like a lot of the established automotive car YouTubers are out there have been established for like a while, and there's definitely ones that come up and do good, but yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I know you're one of the main ones that does like these, I would say, crazy builds, right? Like the Tesla swap stuff, the turbine, or that you didn't do that one, but you show a lot of like crazy stuff, different stuff, not crazy.
Yeah. So, I really like to show unique projects. I feel like, I don't know, I have to get excited about something to really, like I said, like let the excitement come through on videos. And like a car that has, because there's people that, a lot of people might just follow a basic, like buy a car, do bolt-ons, and buy off-the-shelf products that are available, and like that doesn't really excite me, because it feels like someone has already, like that was someone else's curiosity that they like, if you buy an already developed turbo kit for a car and you're installing it and everything just bolts together, it's nice if you're just looking for the performance, but maybe there's like some satisfaction for me that I don't really see in that. It's like I kind of want to do it ourselves in some way. Like, I feel like we just like got to put a spin on it.
Wait, what you're seeing is there's no really creativeness when you just bolt shit on, Yeah. That's probably
and I think that also makes some stand out more than others. I mean, we're not the biggest automotive channel out there, but we've obviously made a pretty big impact. And
you develop the fan base.
Yeah, and I think guys that keep putting the same... I think guys that don't venture far out of that creativity bubble, like they won't see the major growth if they're just buying a car, putting bolt-on parts on it and moving on, unless themselves as a personality is just really interesting and exciting to watch. It's like there's always an element of something somewhere. Like I don't think people really watch me because I'm like this crazy online personality. Like I'm not doing crazy stuff. I'm not backflipping, or I'm not being loud. I'm not like one of those type of content creators. Because like the guys that are really loud and like
jumpy
and they're excited all the time and they're over the top, like those guys can get away with the more basic car stuff because they have like the personality to make up for it. I really don't. I'm like kind of awkward in most cases, honestly. And
when I seen
like if I didn't have the creativity and the cool projects, people probably wouldn't watch me just for me alone. So I feel like that's what balances what I have out some, and that's the only reason there's some success there, because I don't have it in me to like just be like, hey guys, like, oh my, like, and just like freak out over something. Like I try to be excited when I actually am, and like, and know that I'm filming myself, but I don't have that out there personality that is going to gain a following just because I'm me. At least I don't think so. Like I don't have that to just like be next level. I don't know.
I mean, I think
that's
you
how
can
I see
relate.
it.
Yeah, I think you're relatable to, some people that see you. When I first seen your channel, I clicked on it, and it was monotone, right? You had like the same voice, like it didn't change, right?
Yeah.
I
guess another. I was just sorry to cut you off, but I think another big outlier would be like maybe like Chris Fix too. I'm saying he is kind of like an outlier to that, but you can go on.
Yeah.
I just thought of that.
Yeah. Like you keep the same tone, but some people could relate to you because they're might not be like really jumpy type of people,
Yeah.
And like you said, your creativity makes up for the personality in your eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and it can go either way. There's definitely YouTubers that they are just chill.
Yeah.
There's like Vice Grip Garage. He's just hanging out. He's like, hey fellers, today we're gonna work on this old car and get the carburetor tuned up. And like, he just has like maybe an older, more mature audience, or even the younger guys that just they don't want all the crazy in your face stuff. They just want to put it on and chill and watch a dude work on a car at his own pace. And yeah, there's examples of every formula working to some extent, but it's like you really got to find your groove to make it work.
Right.
So there's guys out there like they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, like trying whatever they can to get it to stick, and they're like chasing their own tail, and they just like they don't get the views they want or this and that, and it's like it's because they're trying to chase views and they're not chasing their like passion. I feel like that's a big thing. If you chase the views, for some people it might pay off, but the genuine curiosity and enthusiasm isn't going to be there if you're just doing it to get numbers on a screen. Whereas if people can tell that you're actually passionate and interested in what you're doing, they see that like there's something there they can just tell, and they're like man, this guy's interesting. I like watching him. Because there's channels about people just mowing their lawn, like the lawn care channels, and or power washing sidewalks, and that's just what they love to do. And they're like, today I'm power washing this guy's sidewalk for free. You can see, he has about 3 months of build up here. And it's just like, he's not trying to get views. It just happened because that's what he likes to do. And it just turned into a channel and people followed along. So
you think I should start a turbine channel?
If you love turbines and you're passionate about it, it'd probably do good. Like start them up, and I'll get pretty deep into a YouTube hole at nights. I'll just go through videos, and I feel like I know a lot about random YouTubers. I feel like I watch a lot of YouTube, and
really,
that
was my next question.
Yeah, you could tell me, like, do you know like a nature channel guy? Do you know a guy that, like I said, lawn care? Like I can name all the channel names. Like, I don't think it's too crazy, but I feel like I know more than I should.
Yeah, is it the sole purpose of like just viewing the creativity, or?
I think it's just interesting to see what other people are able to make a living doing, and it just keeps me. It's like I feel like that might be why some people watch me. Like they might not even almost really care about what I'm doing. They just enjoy to see the evolution of it. Because there's guys that I watch that I don't really care about all the technical stuff they're talking about, but I'm like, man, I remember seeing this guy few years ago and he only had this many subs, and I'll like check in on these channels and I'll see like, man, like that's how he's doing his thumbnails and his titles, and it's his channel's growing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just think it's cool to see how people can take their hobbies or interests and turn them into their careers. And then I try to, it's like the same thing. I look at what other people are doing and just see how can I apply that to myself.
Right.
And, you know, I just take everything. If I see someone doing something that's paying off for them, I'm like, how can I apply that to what we're doing over here?
Yeah.
So my job is YouTube. So in a way, it's good to see what other successful YouTubers are doing. And
Did you mention why you changed the Boosted Boys to Boosted Boy?
I didn't. I talked about it a little bit on Cooper's podcast last week, and then I just dropped a video and mentioned it briefly. And yeah, I don't even want to look at those comments right now because there's a lot of people that aren't happy about it because I didn't know how they would take it. But we started Boosted Boys as a group of friends back in Colorado, and it was great and made sense at the time. I mean, it still kind of does either way. But like I said, I didn't know what YouTube was going to turn into. It was, at the time, it was just for fun. I think that's why some people might be upset about it, because like that's what made it what it was. Like it was OG, and the name stayed throughout all of this. But you know, people have come and go, and I feel like I was really the only one like laser focused on like trying to push this and make it work. And some of my friends that had interest in cars like naturally grew out of it, this and that. And you know, I found myself a lot of times being the only one, you know, running the channel. And people that have watched me for a long time, they understand who I am and stuff, but there's a side that people don't see, like when I go to introduce myself to someone new, or if you're a brand new viewer and you hear the Boosted Boys, like you don't know what that means right away, where like some of these other YouTubers where it's just based off them as an individual, it's like it's just a clear understanding of like, oh, this is that guy, this is who he is. And like I've talked to, like, because right now I have Wyatt working for me, and like I talked to him about it. I wanted to make sure it was cool with him because, you know, I don't want to make anyone feel some type of way. And I already saw some people saying like they think that I'm like, oh, it's all about me and this, but it's like I always want everyone to feel included. But I feel like moving forward, I don't know what the future is going to hold, and I just feel like it's something I've wanted to try. And if I don't do it now, then I don't want to just like regret not ever trying it. Looking back. And I really didn't know how people were going to react to it. Honestly, I thought, you know, some might like it. Like I knew some people would be upset, but I don't know how many people are upset right now. I didn't look at the comments, but I really never even tried to make it about me. It made sense because back when we had a big group of people in Colorado we'd always hang out with. Most of the time it was me behind the camera. I was filming it like, I don't know if you've ever seen like David Dobrik or like vloggers where it's like they're behind the camera a lot and they're filming their group of friends. Yeah. And there were people that like we would meet in person, and I'd have like these like small, I don't know if you could call them like wake up calls, but like I would just assume people know my role in the channel because I assume everyone's been watching a long time. But like first time viewers would come up and they don't even understand that, you know, it's like me running most of the channel behind the scenes. Like I've had people think that I'm just a filmer for the group or something, and I'm like, it's not that I really care. Like I want to be included with all my friends and stuff, but especially as time has gone on and like everyone, especially a lot of those friends I used to be with, you know, they've all started their own YouTube channels and things like that. It's just it does the same magic that was there. I'm like, okay, realistically in the future, 10 years out, let's say, will I still have the channel just Boosted Boys, even if I'm constantly going in and out of new people? Because people, you know, they naturally grow in and out of things as life goes on. Like I'd love to have Wyatt work with me forever, and our relationship's great right now, but who knows, you know, like life could get in the way, this and that, and I just don't know how long that's going to stay. And it's one of those things that I don't want to regret being like 5-10 years from now, if I stayed with it, I'm like, man, maybe I should have changed the name way back then. Yeah. That's my honest take on it. It's not like there's no weird intent about it or anything. It's like, it's because it has the name Boys in it. Yeah. It makes you automatically assume like this is a group of people.
Where's the other
doing
guys?
It. Yeah. And there's times when I feel like people were complaining because I wasn't posting a whole bunch. And part of it, I feel like with that name, I try to make sure I include people in the videos, but recently a lot of people were out of town. So sometimes I feel weird when it's just me filming a video in the shop because they're gonna be like, oh, well, where's the other guys at, or where's this? So I want to be able to have like the flexibility of not, making sure there's other people in my videos at all time. Like if I flew out to go see you guys or something, and I, maybe they're busy here, which is understandable. It just might make more sense, especially for new people meeting me if I go somewhere. I just don't know. I just wanted to try it, and it's like something I wrestled with for years.
Really?
And I didn't change the name because I knew people liked it. I'm like, I'm going to stick with it. Because there was a time 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, I'm changing this name. Like, it was dead set. But I was like, no, the fans like it. And I would stick with it, but just I keep running into those things that I'm like, man, it would maybe be different if there was just a little more understanding in the name right away.
Right.
I still run into it to this day. So I just wanted to try it to see how I feel about it. And I figured it was time, like, I do it because I want to try it and not just because everyone's like, no, you got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to try it. And the channel's come so far, and I'm happy with everything that's happened. So I feel like I'm not too scared to like take a risk right now and make a change and just see what it does for the next year. In worst case, I could always go back if people really want it to go back to how it was, and I agree with them and I don't feel any better or different about it, then yeah, I'd change it back. It wouldn't really matter to me, but it's something I just wanted to try.
Right. What is the future for the channel? And maybe something you want to dabble into, you want to, explore something different, obviously, that you have next to you.
Yeah.
Maybe get your pilot's license, or maybe work on experimentals, or
It's a possibility. I think my next steps right now are I'm trying to find a bigger property because we're pretty crowded here just with the amount of cars and just the parts we have and the merchandise that we've been doing.
Too many nuts and bolts.
Too many nuts and bolts. But I'd like to have a little more space, and it'd be really cool if we could build a bigger shop or find a bigger shop somewhere. I don't want to go too much crazier, but having a decently sized shop, just enough to where we can expand a bit more.
Yeah.
Because the channel has continued to do good, so I might as well. It's one of those things, I never thought the channel would take us this far, and I could basically stop here, stay content, keep posting somewhat regularly and pay my bills, but we're in a position where if we can still grow, I might as well try, right?
Yeah.
So might as well push for it. So I'd like to get a bigger property, expand from there. We got like that 2J Civic, the NSX coming up. I want to get those going. And I mean, really looking out into the future, I feel like I couldn't tell you straight, because so much, like, if you asked me even 2 years ago, if you thought I'd even have, like, even 3 years ago, like, I wouldn't think I would even have a Tesla. But here I am with 2 Plaids and a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Like, if you told me 5 years ago, like, dude, you're going to have one of the first wrecked Cybertrucks that you've never even, I mean, they were just being, like, announced 5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah that's crazy. Yeah. So to be in the position we're already in is pretty cool. But 5 years out, I don't know. Might be doing more EV stuff. I want to get into, I've been wanting to get into different platforms too, because I've been doing the Honda stuff for a long time now. And right now we just don't have a ton of space to pile on more projects, or I'd have to start getting rid of some stuff. But I think it'd be cool to like build something with a Coyote in it, or get into some V8s, like, and actually take them, like, actually, take one more serious. Like, we threw an LS in my 240, but it was just a beater. I wasn't really too passionate about like pushing that thing. I thought it'd be fun to build like a drift car, maybe like keep it our style, like a pretty gnarly like K series, like E36 or something, since they make a swap kit for those, and have like a fun drift car that I could link up with like Adam or any drift channels, and that would be pretty exciting to me as well. So I would definitely like to venture into different avenues and even meet people outside of automotive and see if there's any way to interlace like what I do with cars with like someone that doesn't do cars, but they have a popular channel doing something
Gotcha.
else and just collab with other creators. So like even if someone has a channel and they're just like really good at playing the piano, like I don't like honestly, if it's something that like interests me,
Yeah.
it'd just be cool to link up. Like
Yeah.
just like meet other people with cool talents and find a way to collab with them, and like if there's a way to make content out of it, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
You know? Like I just like dumb ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Things that been working as of, you know.
Yeah, I try to think like how could I tie cars into just any idea I see, or anything time I see someone doing something that's successful, I'm like, how could I do that but like a car version? Like what would that look like? So
Playing the piano in a drag car at the
Like-
racetrack.
like if some popular pianist hit me up and he was a fan of cars for some reason, he's like, yo, you're cool, and this dude's like a ripper on a piano, I'd just be like, yo, come on by, we'll set up a piano on our pad outside, and I'll drift around you while you're playing Mozart. And like we'll make a badass edit, you know, and like find a way to incorporate cool talents into cars, or if there's like some comedian that I know that's really funny that I personally like, and I have a spot to like give them a ride in a 1,000 horsepower NSX to get their reaction. Like find a way to interlace, like how can I take people that don't even necessarily care about cars and link them to cars. Like that's something I always think about, but it's never something I actually pursue. I don't have the facility to do it. Like I can't just take them on the street. It's like I'm not going to take them, you know. So if I had my own drag strip in my backyard, it would be something I would think of. Like I'd invite people out. Like, hey, if anyone out there wants to ride, and then I'd just give away rides. Like I want people to experience it too, because it's what got me hooked. Like I rode in one of my friend's Mustangs back when I worked at Discount Tire, and it he got on it and it like barely set me back in the seat, but I thought it was the fastest thing. I was like, holy shit. It was like 300 horsepower Mustang. I'm like, god damn, this thing's fast. And like it got me hooked. I was like, I gotta put a turbo on my car or something.
This is how Fast and the Furious feels.
Yeah, everything's blurry, man.
No, that's awesome, man. Guys, if you're watching this, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's time to wrap it up, honestly.
It's just in time for me to go do some ricer flybys for the neighbors.
Yeah, to wake them up.
When you hear those Civics on rev limiter at 3 in the morning, that's why I'm awake right now, because I'm getting ready for my morning run.
Yeah, he's gonna have a car called the Rooster soon, because he wakes up everybody.
The Rooster? That's funny. I'll make it like a water cut rooster on the exhaust.
Yeah, that's almost like a rooster too.
Yeah,
it's red.
Yeah, no, I'm actually ready for bed. So
yeah, that's cool.
We'll show you some cars though, whatever you want to see.
Yeah. We're gonna see some cars right now. Get a little vlog action, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Check out BoostedBois, and if you're in need of a nitrous kit, check out nitrousexpress.com. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.